Alav Shalom, Elisheves Chassan. Tonight, we are privileged to listen to Divrei Hisorurus and Chizuk from three very chashuv individuals, Harav Moshe Tuvia Leif Shlita, Harav Ephraim Eliyahu Shapiro Shlita, and my mechutin, and the driving force behind 10K Batei Yisrael, Reb Shai Levin. Today is Pesach Sheni. With thanks to my mechutin, Rabbi David Weinberger, I wanted to say over a vort. An amazing thing happened, and we'll name this incident in just a few weeks. There was a kvutza of Bnei Yisrael who were Tomei during Pesach Rishon and could not participate in the Korban Pesach. Because they were Tomei, they were potter. They were exempt from the Korban Pesach. That kvutza of Bnei Yisrael who were Tomei approached Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Lama nigara, why should we suffer? Or, as ArtScroll translates, why should we be diminished? Since they were Tamei during Pesach Rishon and could not participate in the Korban Pesach. Nevertheless, during Pesach Rishon, did they eat matzah? Yes. Did they eat moror? Yes. Did they avoid chametz? Yes. Did they have Yom Tov? Yes. But what? They weren't able to be makar of the Korban Pesach. One mitzvah. And because they were Tomei, they were potter from the mitzvah. And they were Tomei not for their own fault. Some say they were metapel with Yosef Hatzadik's bones, Atzmos Yosef. But they were potter from the Korban Pesach. You're good to go. You have mitzvahs to do, you do them. You don't have a mitzvah, you potter. Maybe leave it alone. But no, they were not satisfied. They had a love of the Ribono Shel Olam. They had a love of his mitzvahs. They wanted to be mitzuvah v'oseh. They wanted to have the mitzvah and do it, even though they were exempt. And there's a parallel by chesed. There are those of us, all of us, who love to do chesed. I'm presented with a chesed opportunity, I'm there. Call my wife to cook for someone who is sick, she can, she's in. Call me to drive someone to the hospital, if I'm available, I'm in. Invite me to a parlor meeting for a tzedakah, and if I'm in town, I'm in. And if I can't, I can't. And then there are those who have what is called ahavas chesed. That's a different degree. They're not looking to be exempt. Just the opposite. They look to create for themselves and others the opportunity to do chesed. They are driven to do chesed. They don't need anyone to ask them or tell them. They initiate. They're the ones doing the calling. They're the ones who make chesed their driving force. The word potter is not in their vocabulary. And what greater chesed is there than making shidduchim, making zivugim? Only by chasanas do we say under the chuppah, Rosh Simchosi. Only by chasanas during benching do we say, Shehas Simcha b'mono. The Simcha has reached high up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's home, Kavayachol. We do not use such exalted language, not by a bris, nor by a bar mitzvah. Because creating a zivug, that's where it is. And that's why we are here this evening. It gives me great covet to introduce Harav Moshe Tuvia Leif Shlita, Morda Asra of Agudas Yisrael, Beis Binyamin.
The Divrei Chizuk this evening should be Lili Nishmas, Yisrael, Rabbi Shai Levi Levin, Elisheva Bas Yobas, Rabbi Chil Ephraim, Tenafshrim Tzurim B'Tzor HaChaim. There's a very controversial psak halacha of Rav Nosson Adler, who was the Rebbe of the Chassam Sofer. It was concerning bringing little children to shul for hakel. They'd be rambunctious. They'd disturb the davening. They weren't focused. They weren't davening themselves. And Rav Nosson Adler Paskin, bring the children to shul. Let them absorb the kedusha of the Beis HaKnesses, of the Beis HaMikdash. And the phenomenal thing about this Psak Halacha is that Rav Nosson Adler did not have any children. Give me my Shmoneh Esrei. Chopshenish kin Kinder nebach. The last thing I want to hear is the cry and the playing of children. I want the rarefied environment of the Beis HaKnesses. I want my Shmoneh Esrei, I want my Tehillim, I want my davening. The last thing in the world I need is a bunch of kids making noise. But he bedavka paskind that that's what I need. I need to hear the future. Yedidai min Urai, Reb Shaya, and his Mechut and Reb Joel, the last thing they should be involved in is Shidduchim. Be involved in a chesed project, in Bika Cholim, in finding people jobs. Why of all things Shidduchim? They should be celebrating an anniversary. They should be celebrating a future together of children and Einaklach from a wonderful union of two incredible youngsters from incredible families. And that's the knee-jerk reaction of Reb Shaya and Reb Joel. Let's create 10,000 Shidduchim. I've introduced them. Let me introduce you to yourselves because you don't even know who you are. Shus, Yedidi v'Chavivi, Agoyin, Rabbi Ephraim came in from Miami for this. The Maila of a Malach is that he cannot multitask. The bane of our society is everybody is doing too many things at the same time. You pick up your child, you're anical from the carpool, and you're talking to your friend on the phone. And the kid's all excited because he or she got an aleph on the report card. 1 second, Tatla, I'm very busy now. Which means that this phone and this conversation is more important than you. But that's not enough. There's a unique art I see sometimes coming out of the Aguda. Ladies with the sports stroller that can go 30 miles an hour. And I once saw a lady pushing the stroller, and she's on the phone with the coffee. I don't know exactly how she did it. And the little child was saying, a 2-year-old, Mommy, Mommy, 2 hands, 2 hands. You know what the child was saying? Focus on me, pay attention to me, finish the conversation. So I got to my car and I drove around the block and she caught up me because she's going 30 miles an hour. And there I see the same lady with the coffee and the child, 2 hands on the stroller, and the phone is cradled in her arm, in her shoulder. That's not what the child wanted. So the bane of society is multitasking, not paying attention, not focusing on individuals as they're speaking to you time and time again. I'm reminded of this. Many years ago in Minneapolis, a prominent frum psychologist was calling me on the phone. I was trying to do 16 things at once, had him on speaker. After 2 minutes, he says, Rav, is this not a good time for you? I said, what do you mean? I feel like you're not focusing on me. And he was right. I was looking up at Reb Kvega for a share. You got to focus. Malachim have a mandate. They have one mission. Zok the Gemara, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he consulted with the Malachi HaShareis, which is a wonderful way to start a business. Consult with your employees. Nasa Odom, B'tzalmeinu Kidmuseinu, let's create mankind. And they responded, Mo enoish kisif kedena, uverodom kisif kedena. The frailty of the human condition, wars and thievery and thuggery and jealousy, it's not kedai. Hashem's response, he incinerated them. The second cut, Nasa Odom, same response, there's no tachlis. Mo enoish kisif kedena. They were incinerated. The third cut remained silent. The Medrash says what happened generations later to them. But Chazal say that every single night at the end of the day, the Malachim give a report to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Malachi Chaval of destruction. They say, Rebbeinu Shalom, destroy the world. Mo'enosh kisif keden, there's no tachlis. Now, if Malachim only have one job to do, as we find by Avraham Avinu, one Malach came Levasa Sarah, she's going to be healed. Another, she's going to have a child. Another to heal Avram, and another Malach Gabriel to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. What's he doing in Avraham Avinu's tent? He should have gone directly to Sodom and Gomorrah and destroyed that part of the world. What's he doing by Avraham Avinu? The Torah says that every day these malachim come and they say, destroy the world. They're degenerate, they're immoral, there are so many wars. Kadosh Baruch Hu would have sent the Malach Gabriel directly to Sodom and Gomorrah. He would have thought this is the whole world. So Kadosh Baruch Hu said, take down a ketovet and an address. Visit a yid in Choron named Avram, who brings people tachas kanfei hashchina, who's the paradigm of chesed. And now tell me about the rest of the world. I guarantee you right now, the Malach Chavola is saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, destroy the world. You don't have to look at the headlines. We know what's going on in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling them, take down an address. It's called the Teres Chinka. And look at the nearly 1,000 people that are gathered here for one tachlis. To see Deiros, to see a future for Klal Yisrael, to see that no one's denied. Look at these people. Look at the women, the men, the Bnei Aliyah, the Bnei Torah, the Bnei Yisrael, the Bnei Torah, and now tell me about the rest of the world. So that's who you are. Nearly 1,000 people are displaying what Yiddishkeit's all about. $10K is not just about numbers. $10K is not just 10,000 shidduchim. Let me tell you a story about numbers. I was zeicher to be involved in Torah Communications Network. I still am. Rebbe Eli Teitelbaum was my second grade Rashi Rebbe. He started Daila Daf, Daila Shir, that jump-started the whole Daf Yomi all over the world. And after a few years, he ran out of money. He had to invent technology. It's not like today, where Moshe Sofer and his team of Torah Anytime harness the technology of today to disseminate Torah to tens of thousands of people. Many, many more. There was no technology. So we had to spend a lot of money inventing technology for the phone banks so that all of the Magidei Shiur, the Daf Yomi, 12 I believe, were able to say their shiurim to tens of thousands of people. And he ran out of money, so he put a big ad in the paper, probably the Jewish press, because that was the only Jewish paper that was around then. And he put an ad in, we're trying to disseminate Torah in the world, and we'd love for you to participate. So the money came rolling in, $5, $10, $5, $18. And then they got a $500 check from a pediatrician in Queens named Dr. Rodriguez. And they had no idea where this money was coming from. You know, there is a book that's very controversial with startling, accurate color pictures of the anatomy. It's called Pernikov's Atlas of the Anatomy. And it's used all over the world, and some refuse to use it. Because this book is comprised of hundreds of pictures of Yidden who were dissected with the inhumane medical experiments of the Nazis, Yimach Shemam. So the debate goes, some say save lives. Some say, how could you desecrate the Kedoshim? This Dr. Rodriguez in the early 70s was in medical school, and they used that book. And the professor said, let's go on a field trip to Poland. Yes, to Poland, where all the death camps were. Poland. And some in Germany. And we'll visit concentration camps that had experiments, Rahman al-Islam. And they came to a certain concentration camp, and there were incredible records of inmates and the types of poisons that were introduced into their bodies, and how long it took them to die with these poisons, Rahman al-Islam. And this Dr. Rodriguez, a young medical student, noticed that in this concentration camp, they continued the experiments until the very last possible time. The last 25 experiments that killed Kedoshei Yisrael took place the day before they were liberated. What can I do for these Jews? He saw the last 25 names, but they weren't names, they were numbers. So he memorized the last 5 numbers, and he said, one day I'm going to do for them. So when they asked him from Torah Communications Network, dial a daf, why are you giving $500? I want to do something for these Jews. I want to dedicate the study of their Torah. So the next week, those that did dial a daf or learned it, we all know that they would say that the daf for the day is dedicated to Ilui Nishmas, Moshe ben Chaim. They announced after every daf, this daf is dedicated Ilui Nishmas 173456. And every day they listed another number. And then they said, these were Heilige Yidden that died al Kiddush Hashem. We don't know their names, but in Shemayim, they know their names. We are so fortunate that we are gathered here to create neshamas and dynasties of names and more names. Yes, there's a number, 10,000K, but it's not just 10,000 numbers. It's 10,000 neshamas. It's 10,000 gedolim, tzaddikisin, babas and zaydis that are in our hands. You pick up the phone, according to Ramatisyo, to read a shidduch. You're like a member of Hatzalah who's going to save someone's life. There's the flashing red strobe light, and there's the siren. Every time you read a shidduch, every time you mention a name, we're the ones who make shidduchim. Rabbi Tzimor Rebbeinu and I was there to make 8 shidduchim. We made shidduchim. There were twins I remember we knew from Cleveland, and so I read a shidduch to a cousin's daughter with one of them. And the father came back, and he said, you know, Mishtuvia, I think it's good for my other son. Okay, it's good for your other son. That's the big chacham that I am. Happily married with children. If they make a simcha, they call us up. We read shidduchim. Drop a name. At a table. At a chassan. At a simcha. Going on a levaya, nishtayach, whatever it is. Have them in mind. This isn't a number. This is the future of Klal Yisrael. Hashgacha protis, that this asifa of Noshim Tzidkonius and Bnei Aliyah takes place on Pesach Sheni. Rabbi Joel mentioned Pesach Sheni and the beautiful pshat that he heard from my good friend Rabbi Weinberger. But what is Pesach Sheni? You ate your matzah, your yaitza? Absolutely not. I'll teach you what to do to Mekayim Pesach Sheni, even L'mocharas, Isrucha Pesach Sheni. Reb Tzadok HaKohen Liblin, in Pri Tzadik, on Pesach Sheni, asks simple kasha. He sort of alludes to it, but the kasha is glaring. Loma Nigora, you missed the boat. Tmeim L'nefesh, you with tzaddikim carrying the various Shvatim Arayna Shal Yosef. But could you imagine somebody's African safari gets stuck somewhere, and he shows up 3 months after Rosh Hashanah, he wants to blow the shofar. We feel bad for you, but it's an einus in Yapata. You can blow the shofar on Chanukah. You can shake a lulav and esrog on Pesach. Avizmani Patla Kamari. It's all over. Where does this Pesach Sheni come from? Zokrab Tzadik, it comes from Nasa Menishma, from Kabbalah Satira. We're also convinced Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, Bishvil Torah Shenikaracious. We weren't supposed to get it. It wasn't going to happen. The Malachim were preventing our ability to receive the Torah. But then Klal Yisrael had a shtoikakus, a searing, passionate yearning for the Torah. And they said, Nasa v'nishma, we want to be like Malachim, no wiggle room. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no wiggle room. We have to think a certain way, we have to eat a certain way, we have to walk a certain way, tie our shoes a certain way. We have no wiggle room. We're like Malachim. That's what we wanted. Megillah Razeh, who revealed this secret? The secret of the Malachim of one mandate, no multitasking, no options. Says Reb Tzodik HaKoyim Lublin, that hishtoikakus, that tremendous passion, brought down the Torah, extended the Torah to us. And that was Lama Nigara. You're not going to have a Pesach Sheni. It didn't exist. There was no such mitzvah. These Yidden, these Jews had such a shtoikakus, a passion, a yearning, a yen, a desire to bring a Korban Pesach. It's not Nisan, it's Iyar, he asks. How could you bring a Pesach Sheni in Iyar? Teretz says it was their raw desire that brought it down. That's the Yom Tov of Pesach Sheni. That's the takeaway. Hishtoikakus can do anything. Hishtoikakus can bring people alive. Hishtoikakus can turn off a cell phone. See that? Hishtoikakus can make shidduchim. But it depends how much we want it. It depends how raw the passion is. Is it in our blood? Do we want to see that simcha? Do we want to see Darishim and Verachim? Do we want to see new legacies of one phone call for one shidduch? Because we really care and we say that to them before it's going to happen. Hagoy Ramosha Soloveitchik Zatzal went to visit a Talmud of his in Switzerland. He was very not well and he looked very despondent. What's the matter? The doctors gave up hope. Rabbi, the doctors have permission to heal, but not to give up hope. And then he said, look at the Shir HaMalos. Shir HaMalos, Shir HaMalos, Esoy Ne'elohim, Me'yan Yevo Yazri, Ezri Miyam Hashem, Oisei Shemayim V'oretz. Why do you have to identify the credentials of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It's not enough to say, Ezri Miyam Hashem. It's Dr. Moshe Soloveitchik. That if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's Oisei Shemayim V'oretz, can create an entire galaxy, world, universe, with all the planets, ex nihilo, something from nothing. You don't think he'd change a chromosome? You don't think he'd cure a chayla? And the man came back to life. We don't just stam daven. We use daven HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ezri Miyam Hashem, Oisei, Shemayim, V'oretz. That's what we're davening for. That's what we're davening to. And you got to bargain with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Yisrael, my niece, my friend, my next door neighbor, she needs a shidduch. She's going to have kosher children. They're going to make brachas. They're going to be married b'kvod Shemayim. That's how you have to daven. You don't realize what one act can do. A friend of mine, Agoy Moshe Kana, said over a Mordechai Gemaisa that Reb Chaim, Grace Rosh Yeshiva in England, Alep Shenisht, was Nishtaimim from. There was a Gary younger man who lived in a pocket of Harediville in Haifa. And he came from his kollel on the bus, and he was thinking and learning, and he missed his stop. And he looks up, and he sees the way people are dressed, and he's going crazy. I got to get out of here. This isn't for me. It's not my milieu. So he's running down this alleyway and that block, and he finally gets back to the hood, to Harediville. And there was a non-religious Jew who witnessed this, and he went crazy. What is this guy, crazy? So he's religious. So he's a Haredi. He can't look at something that's improper for 2 seconds. He's going Meshuggah as if he's running out of Gehenna. It really upset him. It cooked him up. It cooked him up to the point that he went to the library and he started reading about Haredim. And the next thing you knew, he became a Haredi. He became Shemet Torah Mitzvahs. Okay, that's the first part of the story that he knew. Several years later, he met Ramal Kiel Shlita, the Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood, who told him, there's a mishpacha in Lakewood, it's Meshuggah. Every one of their children are geniuses. They're goinim in Torah. They're big mabitzei Torah. The entire family probably teaches over 1,000 people in learning every year. And it intrigued him. Where does this family come from? Ein kol for the Chofetz Chaim, Satmar Rebbe is a nephew, a Plemenik. So he started doing research. And he found out that the Balei Tshuva, Chayzer B'Tshuva, there's no yichus there. The parents and grandparents were secular Zionists. Then Ramosha Kana did his own research, and he put the two tales together. Now, Reb Chaim, the Rosh Yeshiva in England, was saying, look at how one young man who's concerned with Shmiras Einayim and Kedusha can make a Ma'apecha revolution in a person's life and turn him into a Talmid Chacham. But he didn't know how far it went. This was that fellow. Not the one who became Shemer Torah mitzvahs. The one who became Shemer Torah mitzvahs who saw a younger man running away from perceived tumah. Ad kedei kach. There's a mishpacha now in Lakewood that are mabitzei Torah to thousands of people because that fellow held Kedusha Shmiras Einayim. I'm not talking tonight about Shmiras Einayim. I'm talking about what one phone call can do. The unbelievable, incredible families, thousands and thousands of descendants from one shidduch, and all HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do is to just pick up the phone. Forget about picking up the phone. Mention a name. I have a friend, I have a girl that I know, a boy that I know. They were once married, they're divorced, but they're incredible. You know how to do it. You know how to sell. It's all about presentation. Somebody calls you about a shidduch, it's not the time for a sore throat or a stomach ache or anything else. It's a time to galvanize yourself, sell. The truth, of course the truth. But you got to be in selling mode. And if not, don't call back until you're ready. Do your research. Find out all the positive things that you can find out. That's when you get a call about a shidduch. But raise all of your hishtoikikos for this. It's not just Reb Tzadok who says this. Beyond Reb Tzadok, you have so many Gedolim who talk about this hishtoikikos. You have the Tfer Shlomo, the Radomskin, says, how did the Benois Tzlafchad get a Yerusha? There was no Yerusha. They didn't take no for an answer. There's a pasuk that we say, Ki eis lechenena ki v'moyed. You know when the Beis HaMikdash is going to come? When it's lechenena, when we have a tshuka, when we're not giving up, or we're not taking no for an answer. So the reason and the fact that tonight, the Hashgacha Pratis is this tshuka, to be able to bring down the Torah, to bring down Pesach Sheni, to bring down the Yerusha for Bnei Tzlafchad, to bring the Beis HaMikdash, we're going to bring Shidduchim. So it's a nice word. We'll go out. You'll hear mesmerizing things from my Yedid Reb Ephraim. And now what? There's a Yid, his name is Reb Daniel Frisch. He translated the Zohar Kodesh into Hebrew, 25 volumes. It's a Baki in Zohar. And he was in Antwerp. The great tzaddik Reb Yitzchak had a son-in-law, Reb Yankala. And he's davening his Beis Medrash. And he sees Reb Yankala. He's running around to each person and he's offering them a coffee. How do you like your coffee made? Before davening. With sugar, without sugar, hazeh, with milk, no milk. And then he starts asking, what kind of city you daven from? Nusach Hari, Nusach Hagra, Ashkenaz, Sfard. He's very busy with everybody. And he comes over to Rav Frisch of Daniel, and he asks him, what kind of coffee, what kind of siddur? He ignored him once, he ignored him twice, and then he got angry. No. The Zohar HaKodesh says you're not allowed to talk before you daven. So here's this big tzaddik, Reb Yankala. What's he doing? Asking people for siddur, for coffee. So he said, young man, many have a custom that when they start davening, they say, Yiratzon Rabbeinu Shalom, please, give me the schutz today to be mekayim the mitzvah of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You think it's a zogachs? It's practical. If you just davened for v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you have to practice it. You got to practice it. We're davening for shidduchim, practice it. Pick up a phone, put on the strobe light. And sometimes it's embarrassing because they get insulted. You're writing me a grisha. I remember when I was a young man, I had a friend of mine. He learned with me in the Mir. He was a very talented fellow. And there was a daughter of a Rosh Yeshiva who unfortunately got divorced. I'm telling you, beautiful inside and out. Chashuva from the greatest mishpach in Klal Yisrael. Doirei Doiris. So I figured, you know what? This would be a good shidduch for Shragi. His name is not Shragi. Bekitzer, I call up the mothers, Mashituvi, yeah. I have this incredible girl, the daughter of a Rosh Yeshiva. She's beautiful, she's generous, she's brilliant. And I think it's a good shidduch for Shwagi. And she says, anything you want to tell me? She's a Grusha. She's married a couple of months. She explodes over the phone. A Grusha? For man Shwagi? Man Shwagi darf haben. Aber it's Talmud Chacham. He's a Talmud Chacham. And he's supposed to be a great guy. And if he's going to sit and learn, he has to have a lot of money. She has to be an exceedingly beautiful girl. So I said, I got the Bas Talmud Chacham, and I got the money, but what's with the Fas Toyer? Val Sekimt them, because he deserves a beautiful girl. Obviously, he never married her. A big Talmud Chacham was a big Rav today. He did marry her. Let me end with this story. Because I know some of the people right here. Some of the younger ladies that are here and some of their parents, and it's Nagia Halacha L'Maisa. I want to thank my good friend for putting on the lights, because after he put on the light, I can't see any of my notes, so we're done. I didn't even see when I started. We're done. There was a young lady in Bnei Brak many years ago, and she was a wonderful girl, the oldest in her family. And she started out with Shidduchim, and she went out with a very fine bacha. Then her mother became very not well. And so she says to her mother, after a few days, I'm not going out anymore. It's not happening. I'm not going out. Not going out. I want to see Nachas before I go. Not going out. But I give her shus to my next sibling, my brother, to go out. He goes out, and he gets married. And the next brother goes out, and he gets married. 9 siblings, everyone's married. Now she says, I'm ready to go out. 10 years later. And wouldn't you know that Ashgacha Pratis, that bocher, the Mitsuyin in Ponevezh, was still available. They went out. The mother, Bez Hashem, Chazdei Hashem, was still alive. Even this terrible machla was debilitating, 10 years of the machla. And they got married, and mother walked her down the aisle. And during Sheva Brachos, the mother was nifteres. So she went to the Levaya. As a college, just got married. She goes over to the Oren. And she says, Tyra, Mama, my dear mother, I want to ask you mechila. And I'll do it publicly. I gave you a lot of agmas nefesh. I didn't go out. I refused to go out. And I'll tell you the rest of the story. I was walking in the streets of Bnei Brak. I was crying my eyes out. I'm just starting shidduchim. My mother's not well. She probably won't walk me down the aisle. And a soft, gentle, caring Jew with a white beard says to me, Tachtel, my dear daughter, why are you crying so excessively? And she says her tale of woe. She started shidduchim, and her mother's very not well with that terrible machla, and she's terrified that she won't walk her down the aisle. So he said, I am maftiach you that you will have your mother walk you down the aisle. And my name is Avram Yeshaya Karelitz. You can rely on me. The Chazon Ish, she had a haftocha for the Chazon Ish that she'll walk her mother walk her down the aisle. She went home elated. She was dancing. She'll become a kala. Mother will be at the wedding. And then she said, that's great about me, but I'm the only one who have the haftocha. What about my sisters and brothers? They have no haftocha. Who knows if they'll be zoicha? So I decided I'm not going to get married until every one of them are married. They have no haftocha. I have the haftocha. Chazon Ish promised me. We could be saimich on him. So Tyra Mama, only when all the siblings were married and you walked them down the aisle, did I allow myself to get engaged and get married, and you taka walk me down the aisle. That's also his shtoikikus. That's taking other people into account. Kedai Rav Meir Lismachalov. Today's the yard side of the Heilige Tanner of Meir Balanes. Soon we're going to have the Heilige Tanner of Shimon Bar Yochai. You're not mishtatach and kforim and davening to them. You're davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the schus of the Sheikh Ne'afar. They should be good Tibetas. This young couple, I am convinced, Elisheva and Yisrael, for everyone sitting in this room, you came out to make shidduchim. They're going to intercede on your behalf. But Kisi Yaakov and Rebbeinu Shalom, we weren't zoicha to get married in this world. Our parents consider themselves mechutanim without having married children, without having einaklach. And all they're worried about is shidduchim for the rest of Klal Yisrael. What a gewaltige schus. But don't just leave it at that. You walk out of here. Okay, I'm finishing, so don't you dare do it by Rebbe Ephraim. But me, next 30 seconds, take out your phone, start making phone calls. Do whatever, jot it down a name. That incredible hishtoikikus will certainly show results. B'siyata Tishmaya, next year, if Chas v'Shalom Mashiach hasn't come, we'll gather together to celebrate not another 50, but hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of shidduchim that were engineered and generated from this asifa of Nashim Tzidkanias and B'nai Torah, B'nai Aliyah. Benshim should be mative, should see the Mesiras Nefesh of the Mechutanim and the Feinstein girls, I don't want to mention names, everybody else that got so involved with this, and created Yesh Mi'ayin. Just like the Rebbeinu Shalom created Yesh Mi'ayin, they created Yesh Mi'ayin, and will create Yesh Mi'ayin. Shidduchim, Hagoinim, Bez Hashem, thousands and thousands of children of Klal Yisrael, to usher in the greatest simcha, B'vias HaGerl, Meir of Yameinu.
Thank you, Rabbi Leib, for those words of Besorus. And now with thanks to Reb Moshe Kaplan. There seems to be a theme across Shas. Koshala Zavugim Kriyas Kriyas Yamsuf. What Hashem has been doing since creation, He's being Mezaveg Zavugim. Hashem is making Shidduchim, and we are just along for the ride. What is a Shadchan? A Shadchan is not someone who makes Shidduchim. Hashem does. And He's been doing it for a long time with a great success rate and doesn't need anyone's help. When we talk about a Shidduch crisis, we do not mean that Hashem is Kvayachol dropping the ball and not doing such a good job anymore and needs us to step in and help. Rather, for some reason, maybe the fault of society, maybe as a result of a gezerah, Hashem is choosing to challenge and test our generation in this area. So again, what is a shadchan? A shadchan is someone who is fortunate enough for Hashem to choose to include him or her in the process of a Kodesh Baruch Hu making a shidduch. Some people Hashem lets help him many times. Some people only once. When we read a shidduch, we were asking Hashem, please let me participate with you on one of the most amazing miracles you do, helping people find their match and helping them build a Bayis Ne'eman B'Yisrael. Hashem is our partner. Frankly, you can't ask for a better partner. 10K B'nai Yisrael says that everyone should be asking Hashem for this chus. And I'm talking to myself as much as to anybody else in this room. We all should want to be Hashem's helper in these endeavors. And maybe, if we have this attitude when we approach Shidduchim, Hashem would smile at us and say, O Yishama, Biore Yehuda, Uv'chutzaos Yerushalayim, Kol Sason, Kol Simcha, Kol Chasan, Kol Kala. And with that in mind, it is my great covet to introduce Rabbi Ephraim Eliyahu Shapiro, Rav Congregation Shari Tefillah of North Miami Beach. Rabbi Shapiro.
I was just asked to please invite anyone who might still be standing, either by the men or by the women, that there are a few seats, and so people can feel comfortable to come in and to take a seat. Birshus Harav Hagoin Reb Moshe Tov Yaliv Shlita. Every single word that we just heard from the Rav Shlita was not only so inspiring and impactful, but it should make us all want to take upon ourselves a Kabbalah that we will really, really take the words of the Rav Shlita to heart. Bereshus, Reb Joel Kaplan, Reb Shaya Levin, who are dear, dear Yedidim Ne'emanim of mine. As the Rav Shlita said, keep in mind tonight's words should be Lezecher Nishmas Ule'iloi Nishmas, Yisrael ben Yeshayahu Halevi, and Elisheva Basya Bas Reb Yechiel Ephraim. B'schus tonight's Hisayrus, Pesach Sheni, Omos Lag Ba'omer, each one, their neshama tahira, should have a lichtige Gan Eden. There's something that seems to be so perplexing in Parsha Shoftim. It's speaking about the concept of Eidim Zaymimim, which means, without going into the entire story, the 20-second elevator pitch, Eidim, witnesses that said testimony that wasn't true. They wanted to put someone to death, and then it was found out they're Zaymimim, they're false because they weren't there at the time to witness it. We do to them as they wanted, and these two are put to death. These two are killed. The Pasuk then says that the rest of Klal Yisrael, many, many, many millions, gather to learn, to listen, to fear, so that they will not do what they just heard the Eidim Zaymimim do. And here's where we should be flummoxed. The Pasuk says, regarding the millions that gather, V'hanishorim, those that are remaining, Yishma'u v'yira'u, they should gather, listen, and learn and take heed. The Mashkiach Shlita Reb Don Segel asks the obvious kasha. I'll give it with a little bit of a metaphor. If you would have a barrel or a container with thousands of apples, and I would take out many, many thousands and leave behind a few, how would I refer to the few apples left behind? Hanishorim, the remaining apples. But if I take out a few apples and I leave behind tens of thousands of apples, who in the world would refer to those apples as the remaining ones? It's 99.99%. That's not remaining. Moray v'Rabosai that came tonight for Yisrael and Elisheva, open your hearts to the answer of Rav Don. He explains that when two Yidden are killed, and yes, these Yidden in the Pasuk were Rishayim and did something wrong, but if two people are killed, even though you still have left millions and millions and millions, they are only the Hanisharim. They have been reduced to only the ones that are remaining. Because when two Yidden are killed, even if there are millions that are gathering, they have been reduced to only the Hanisharim. Gather the remaining ones. So precious and so priceless are two Yidden in the eyes of the Ribbono Shel Olam. And if that is true, and the Pasuk says Rav Don, although these two Eidim were Rishayim and deserved it, Kal v'chaymer ben b'nai shel Kal v'chaymer, if two Yidden are killed that are tzaddikim, that are precious neshamas, if two Yidden are taken away when they're a Chosen and a Kala, Yisrael and Elisheva Basya, if two people like that could be taken away, then the 1,000 here tonight, we have been reduced to only the Hanisharim. We are just the remainder. because so precious and so priceless is the life and the neshama of the Chassan Rebbe Yisrael and the Kala Elisheva Basya, that when they were taken a bit more than a year ago on Chol Hamoed Pesach, you and I, me, we and us, and Gans Klal Yisrael, Ba'arba Kanfoi Sa'aretz, became only V'hanisharim. We might be many millions, but if two Yidden like that can be taken, then we are only the remainders. And so here is the call for tonight. You and you and you and you and you and I. What are we going to do as the Nisharim, the ones who have remained behind? Answer the question. What are we going to do for the two that were taken, Rebbe Yisrael and Elisheva? What are we going to do, as I said when I spoke at the Shloshim about a year ago? What are we going to do for Reb Shaya Levin and his entire family, Reb Joel Kaplan and his entire family? If you came tonight, you care. If you're listening to tonight, wherever you're located, you care. Remember, you're Nisharim. And if you are just remaining, what are you going to do? And so Reb Shaya started 10K Bata Yisrael. It should be noted the name, Bata Yisrael, Yisrael. Of course, Bata Yisrael means to start, as the Rav said, not just numbers, but a home and future generations. But of course, as well, Yisrael, the Chassan's name, and Bate from the word Elisheva, Basya, Batya, her name as well. So let's divide tonight's words into two parts. And as the Rav just said, while the 50 plus Shidduchim from this past year is Pile, Ployim, and Gevaldik, if we are 58 Shidduchim. A round of applause, Taka. It should be noted, the Rav Shlita said how you could imagine what Hashem and the Malachi Asharis are saying about tonight. 58 is Bigematria Chen, charm. I'm sure tonight's gathering brings a lot of Chen in Shemayim in the Pamalia Shalmaila. But what would be if we're able to gather next year, Be'ezus Hashem, in Eretz Yisrael or Chalila in Golus? And that number will burst and swell to thousands. It's possible from tonight. And I'd like to prove it to you by dividing the words into two parts. Number one, there's perhaps no word that's more relevant to a Jew with a beating heart than achrayus. Achrayus means you better step up to the plate and take responsibility. You and I, we don't live in a cocoon. Whether you live in New York, you live in Miami, you live in Guadalajara, you live in Johannesburg, you live in Eretz Yisrael, you don't live in a bubble. Reading the Shidduch means you have achrayus for a fellow Yid. And it behooves and is incumbent upon every one of us. And really, I'm talking to myself. In fact, the letters of Achrayus tell us everything that we need to know about the sojourn of a Jew in this world. Achrayus is spelled Aleph, Ches, Reish, Yud, Vav, Saf. Every letter wallops a punch. Aleph is one. You have to have Achrayus to yourself. And you have to be a Bener Bas Aliyah, today better than yesterday, and better tomorrow than today. The next letter of Achrayus, Aleph, Ches, is Ach, your brother. Do you take care of your brother? Do you take care of your brother, your sister, your family? Yes or no? The next letter of Achrayus is a Reish. Aleph Ches Reish stands for Acher. You have to care about everybody. As we heard some incredible stories, I'm a little bit hesitant to use the word when it comes to Shidduchim, unbelievable. I have an unbelievable Shidduch for you. I'm a little hesitant to use it. I heard a Maisa a few years ago, Maisa Shahaya Kachaya. that somebody wanted to read a shidduch, not part of the 10K, don't worry. And the problem with the shadchan was she realized that the girl didn't always speak the truth. She fabricated or spun a tale, and a little white lie, but not knowing how to say that about the girl, that she didn't always speak the truth to the boy and the boy's family. The shadchan said about the girl to the boy's family, she's truly unbelievable. As the Rav said, be extremely careful, but go out there. Energize yourself. Acher. You owe it to someone. The next letter of Achrayus, Aleph Ches Reish Yud, spells the word Acharai. Somebody will see as a shadchan, you're real, you care. And they'll see your faleslach. The next letter, Aleph Ches Reish Yud Vav, spells the word Acharov. That family, that boy, that girl will follow after you because they see you walk the walk, talk the talk, you're the real deal. And finally, the last letter of Achrayus, Aleph Ches Reish Yud Vav Sof. Aleph is the first letter, Tuf is the last letter, Aleph to Tuf, beginning to end, A to Z, soup to nuts. Stay in it. Perseverance. Call back again. Don't get discouraged. Follow through. There's no word that better qualifies our life than Achrayus. Aleph to ourself, Ach to our family, Acher to a fellow Yid, Acharai, be real, Acharav, they'll follow you. Aleph to Tuf. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. We will build 10K Bata Yisrael. There's a pasuk that says in Shir Hashirim, Hashmi'ini es kailech, ki kailech arev. I'll listen to your voice because you have a sweet voice. Says the Heiliger Radomsker Rebbe Zechusa Yagan Aleinu. Those words should be read differently. Arev means sweet, but arev also means Kol Yisrael arevim zeh bazeh. Do you have achrayus, and are you responsible enough to read a shidduch? Says the Radomsker, Hashmi'ini es kailech, says the Rebbeinu Shalom, I'll listen to your voice, ki kailech arev, when you have a voice of arevus, when you have a voice of Kol Yisrael arevim zeh bazeh, when you have a voice of achrayus, when you pick up a phone and you read a shidduch, when you follow through 10K Aleph to Tuf, Hashmi'ini es kailech, I'll listen to your tefillah, to your voice, ki kailech arev, if you have achrayus, if you're an arev and you care. Tonight's about caring. In fact, the Radomsker Rebbe concludes, which one of the three avos best taught us this caring one for another? Who was it? It was Yaakov Avinu. He had 12 shvatim, the Shiftei Kah, there was Sinna and Kinna, but at the end, Yachad Shiftei Yisrael. No one was the paradigm, the quintessence of achrayus and this concept of arevus as much as Yaakov Avinu. So open up your hearts to how the Radomsker ends. What's the name of the tefillah that Avraham established? Shachris. What's the name of the tefillah that Yitzchak established? Mincha. And what's the name of the tefillah that Yaakov established? Now, don't answer Ma'ariv. Yaakov established, and I'm Ashkenaz, I get it. Yaakov established the tefillah of Arvis. What right does a person have to go to sleep at night without asking themselves, I daven Shachris, check. I daven Mincha, check. I daven Ma'ariv, check. But don't go to sleep without davening Arvis. In front of the Rav Shlita, I will not render a halachic psak, ask Harav Hagoyin. But it could be. The Gemara says Tfilas Ma'ariv for women could be it's a reshus, voluntary. I'd like to say Ma'ariv might be a reshus, but Arvis is obligatory. And that's tonight. If we are left after those two, the Chosin and Kala, Rabbi Yisrael and Elisheva were taken, we've been reduced to Nisharim. And our obligation towards 10K Bata Yisrael as Nisharim is Achrayus, Aleph, Ches, Reish, Yud, Vav, Sof. And in the Schus, that there isn't a day that ever goes by without davening Arvis. Read that shidduch. Go for it. You don't have to be, of course, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, professional. You could have different shadchanim. Ashreichem, ashreichem. But you heard from the Rav, you heard from others. Many, many, many shidduchim come about. We just heard a story. All right, if not for this boy, then for the other. And it worked! The Rebbeinu Shalom wants to see that I'm trying. I'm not trying enough. I'm not. But Belin Eder, from tonight, I am going to really try harder. And by that I mean me, Ephraim Elio. I don't try hard enough, but I will after tonight. I will for Reb Yisrael, and I will for Elisheva. I will for Reb Joel and his family. I will for Reb Shai and his family. Belin Eder, I'm going to try. And so must you. We don't know how the shidduch, the Rebbeinu Shalom is a mezavig, those shidduchim. I must tell you, for the last few years, there's never a first day Rosh Hashanah in our shul in North Miami where I don't start with the same, I start with the same drasha every year. Could you imagine? You know the drasha already from year to year. A Rav told it to me, and I asked the Rav where he got it from. He said, this I got from Harav Moshe Tov Yalif. So I love the idea. I'm giving him the credit, and so should you. And even if I find out afterwards that it wasn't his idea, still give him the credit, because I'm sure it could have been. But this Rav told it to me. Yeah. Harav Rav Moshe Tuvia did Nafshi V'Rav Chavivi said it is his. I got it from a Rav about 4 years ago. I'll give you the concept, an elevator pitch in less than a minute, and then tell you a true story, B'didi Havayuvda. This Rav told me, as did another, and it came from the Rav Shlita. The basic concept is, right before Tkiyah Shofar, stop. And what you are supposed to go ahead and do is turn to someone. This is the way I say it over. It could be it came from the Rav. If anything is lost in translation, it's entirely my fault. But the way I heard it is, don't turn to your best friend, your BFF. Turn to the person next to you and say, listen, we're about to have Tkiyah Shofar, one of the most heilige Dehoibina moments possible. What can I daven for you for? And then switch ideas. It's a lot.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but the men were clueless. The only ones who got it were the women. And in the Ezras Nashim, 500 ladies were buzzing, buzzing, buzzing. The men are looking at me like a humpback in the other when you're swinging the chicken. And then they got it. But it was the ladies. Give the ladies a round of applause.
So, in defense of our saying it over, I've seen the men and women get it. So the men could give a round of applause. B'kitzer, every year, and it's amazing, one lady to another, one man to another, little children to each other. And throughout the year, they'll come back to me, some in private, some more public, and they'll tell me how the tefillah was answered that they davened for the other. One year I had gathered 60 stories, another year 40. It happens to be oise geveimach. It's a wild, truly unbelievable concept. It's mamish changed our Rosh Hashanah. Obviously, many times the people are going to daven, could you daven for a shidduch for my child? And throughout the year, I'll gather the stories. There have been stories, I could keep you, but we're on a time limit. You would not believe the stories. The next Rosh Hashanah, I just give a snippet of a few of them. This past Rosh Hashanah, I was about to start, it was a few days before. I'm not using the real names, obviously. A bocher called me and said, you know, he's part of our shul. He's now learning in a different yeshiva. I want to tell you what happened this past winter. Maisa shahaya kachaya. He was in a yeshiva. It was by Tkiyah Shofar up north. He turns to his friend and says, our Rav Rabbi Shapiro back in Miami gives an idea that he heard from Rav Moshe Tov Yalif Shlita. Let's do the same thing now in the yeshiva we're learning. They were both about 21 or 22. But let's do it. It's all about shidduchim. So this fellow told me, he turned to his friend and said, that his friend said, what do you want me to daven for you? So the one on the phone said to me, he wanted to get married, so he told his friend, daven that I should do a shidduch. He said to his friend, and what do you want? So his friend answered, I want to do a shidduch, and I want to marry a rich girl from Toronto. So they finished davening. The one who's on the phone with me, who's the child of one of our mispalim who I know very well, I said, what happened with you? He said, well, I'm the one who asked him to daven for me to do a shidduch. I finished davening. The mashgiach's wife called me over and said, come to me after Yontif. I have a shidduch that I want to read to you. Matzah Yontif, he went over to the mashgiach's wife. She read a shidduch. 3 weeks later, they were engaged. Maisa shahaya kachaya. But I said to him, what about the friend? He wanted to marry a rich girl from Toronto. He says, 1 second. He tells me this past year he got married January 4th of that year, meaning a year and a half ago. He said, but my friend, the one who asked me to daven for him, he wasn't there. Because that night, he became a chassan to a girl from Toronto whose family name was Rich. And that but the Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, Hashmi'ini es koilech. I'll listen. I listen to that boy. I listen to that boy. I'll listen. Ki koilech orev. Never let a day pass where you don't daven tfilas arvis, where you don't show achrayas aleph ches reish yud vav saf. You and you and you and you, we can do it. In fact, there is no better time than as we approach Lag BaOmer to make that a reality. Could somebody explain to me how Rabbi Akiva did it? Harav Moshe Tuv Yalif in his opening words said, how did Reb Shai and Reb Joel start 10K Bata Yisrael? Start anything. But starting Shidduchim for a Chassan and Kala? How'd they do it? Well, you could ask that same question about Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva lost 24,000 Talmidim, each of whom was the Gadol Hador. On Lag BaOmer, that dying stopped. Some say there were more Talmidim, there weren't, it stopped. If you make a cheshbon, he went to almost 800 levayas for 32 days straight. Ribaina Dahai Al Makula, how did Rabbi Akiva do it? And yet the next morning, Lag BaOmer, he got up, he only had 5 Talmidim. And he gathered those 5 Talmidim and he said, let's start again. I believe in the 5 Talmidim. All of Torah that we have for today and for perpetuity is from those 5 Talmidim. Rabbi Akiva suffered what he suffered, and the next morning started with 5 Talmidim. And all that we have is because of that belief and that emunah. Maybe that's what happened a year ago when Reb Shai and his family, Reb Joel and his family, taught that lesson to Klal Yisrael, the lesson of Rabbi Akiva. The lesson being told at the Levaya, when, of course, Reb Shaya said to the Rebbeinu Shalom, you took back the Afikomen, and now we're going to build 10K Bata Yisrael. We have to believe that we have that power. We have to believe in ourselves and in others. It's interesting to note that this that I'm covering with my hand right now, we call in English a face. In every language, it has a similar, etymologically, it comes from the same word. In Italian, it's called faccia. Even if in Spanish, you'll find another more common word. Believe me, I asked the cleaning lady at home, and she said I was right. The root of that word, face, faccia, is facade. The rest of the world shotzes you up and knows just who you are and what you're not by looking at your face. It's a facade. It's all about the external. But in Lashon HaKodesh, we call what I'm covering with my hand now a panim. And panim is from the word panemius. We believe in a person's panemius. We believe they can accomplish. We believe in the boys. We believe in the girls. We believe we could read Shidduchim. We have to believe in ourselves and believe in others. Our panemius and your panemius. And if we would learn to believe, 10K Bata Yisrael by next year may turn into 20K. I mentioned there's no better time than approaching Shavuos. I'll share with you this Dvar Torah, then a story, and then close. There's a famous pasuk in the beginning of the middle of Perek Aleph in Rus. 3 women are walking together, Naomi and 2 daughters-in-law, Rus and Arpa. She is dissuading them, go back, go back, go back. And one does and one doesn't. I was always intrigued by that pasuk. Pray tell, they're walking together, Arpa buzzes out, Rus doesn't. How long? I'm asking the men, the women, how long did they walk together? Zogen Chazal. The 3 walked together for 40 steps. After 40 steps, Orpah said, I'm done with this. And she went back to her family, her religion, and her way of life. Rus, the pasuk says, would cling tenaciously and kept going. When Naomi saw the sheer determination and the perseverance of Rus, that she's not giving up, Naomi said, stop, stop, you've convinced me. And from her union of one night with Boaz, there was a great-grandchild, David ben Yishai Melech HaMashiach. I always wondered, in this Chosheva gathering for 10K, how much more did Rus walk with Naomi after Arpa buzzed out? I would think after the 40 steps, you'd have to swim the English Channel. You'd have to break out of Rikers Island in the morning and Alcatraz in the afternoon. You'd have to walk on glass through the Kalahari and the Sahara Desert. Ribono Shel Olam, how much more did Rus walk? You know the answer? Take a look at the Medrash yourself. You ready for this? Fasten your seatbelts. She walked after the 40 steps, which made her mother-in-law say, stop, stop, I see your determination, I see your perseverance, I see your achrayus, I see your tefillah service, I see you're the real deal. You know how much more she walked? 1 step. 1 step. It should be noted that step was number 41. And the Hebrew for a woman who builds a new house from 10K Bata Yisrael is she becomes an aim. Aim is Aleph Mem, which is the Gematria 41. That's what happens with that 1 step. It doesn't come from the big and the grandiose and the overwhelming. It comes from the one idea, the one thought, the one comment, the 1 step. Yes, from me and you, from us, just believe. And might I add, because I know it's not easy, that 1 step came after what? After Rus. You know, in the vernacular in English we say, you knocked me down. You knocked me down. How many times can I still become a punching bag and stand up? But that's what happened. Naomi was obligated to dissuade Rus from becoming a Geiris. The Gemara says she dissuaded her with the laws of Tchum Shabbos, the laws of Israel Yichud, but she attempted to brush her off, and brush her off, and brush her off. When she saw the concept that this woman can take a step Even after being rejected and knocked down and rejected and knocked down, you could take a step in the face of adversity. You are an aim. You are the aim Hamalchus. You will become the great-grandmother of Melech HaMashiach. It's not just the one step. It's the one step in the face of adversity and being knocked down. Very often that happens in shidduchim. Perhaps the person who's reading the shidduch doesn't feel appreciated. They're not validated or acknowledged enough. They're hung up upon. As the Rav Shlita said in that closing story, that's an idea for my child. Do you know what my child deserves? So we're knocked down and we're knocked down and we're knocked down. You know where lies the greatness? If you can still take that one step. Reb Shai Levin and his family, and Reb Joel Kaplan and his family at the Levaya gave us the one step. We are Nisharim. What are you going to do about it? Because if not tonight, then when? You just have to believe you can. And so one story and then a bracha to end. I recently mentioned this story. It could be as well, I heard it from our family, Mechut and Rav Moshe Schmelzer, so that means it could have originated from the Rav Shlita, possibly. That's why it's such a schus to be here in his presence. About 40 years ago, there were yeshiva bachrim that were not behaving as they should. And so they got involved in phone scams. If you don't know what a phone scam is, I probably wouldn't believe you. It was quite popular years ago where you made a prank phone call, a bogus call, and you scammed someone. They took it to an abhorrent, unconscionable level. They called Meirei Halacha Gedolei Yisrael and asked bogus questions. It was one boy's turn to call Reb Moshe Feinstein. And at 11:30 at night, he called Reb Moshe. The Rebbitzin said, the Rosh Hashiva is sleeping, should I wake him? And the boy said, yeah. And Reb Moshe came to the phone, hearing it's a halachic question, he washed his hands. He asked the boy nearly at midnight what the question was, and when it was asked to Reb Moshe Feinstein, it was obvious that it was a scam, a bogus question. It was made up. Reb Moshe asked the boy, what yeshiva do you learn in? The boy didn't want to answer. He didn't want to get in trouble. Reb Moshe said, I won't get you in trouble. Where do you learn? He told him. What Gemara are you learning? He told him. What daf? He told him. He said, let me ask you a kasha on Tosfos. And he did. He said to the boy, do you understand the kasha? And the boy said, no. Like it was a miracle he knew what Bubba he was learning. The patience of Reb Moshe was legend. Without a Gemara, past midnight, Maisa Shahaya Kachaya, he taught the boy on the phone who attempted a phone scam, Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos of a whole Amud, word by word, line by line, top to bottom, aleph to tuf, soup to nuts. He asked the boy, do you understand it? And the boy said no. Like Rav Preda in his door, Reb Moshe taught it. The only detail I don't know is if he taught it 3 times or 4 times, but he did. After an hour, he asked the boy lovingly, do you understand the kasha on Tosfos? And the boy said, that's an amazing kasha. Reb Moshe said, tomorrow in yeshiva, when your Rebbe teaches Tosfos, ask him the kasha. B'ahi hayom, they're learning Tosfos. The boy raises his hand. The Rebbe is wondering what, pray tell, could this kid want? And he asks the kasha. The Rebbe says, that's incredible. Where'd you get that kasha from? He says, Reb Moshe Feinstein. The Rebbe mutchered on the kasha all week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He comes in Thursday, beaming like a light bulb, and he says to the class, I worked on it all week, and I have an answer to the kasha that was asked. And he gave a scintillating answer. Thursday evening, the boy comes home from yeshiva, and he runs to his room, and he locks the door and cries. And his parents respectfully ask to be let in. They unlock the door, they walk in, and they see the boy is crying, Demoy Shalish. And they ask their son, the teenager, what happened? And all he could say through his tears were these words, Reb Moshe. Reb Moshe believed in me. Reb Moshe showed me love and validation and acknowledged me. Reb Moshe believed in me. And if Reb Moshe believed in me, then I believe in myself. You hear me, Tati and Mami? I believe in myself. And I'm ready to go back tomorrow morning to yeshiva and to start learning. Because Reb Moshe believed in me, I believe in myself. And the next morning he turned his life around and he went back to yeshiva. And obviously I wouldn't say his name today, but he's a choshev Maggid Shir in a yeshiva Gedolim tri-state area. And if you would ask him why, you know what he would tell you? Because Reb Moshe, he believed in me. He believed in me. He believed in me. And if he believed in me, then I believe in myself. And that's what tonight is about. When Yisrael and Elisheva were taken, Klal Yisrael was bereft and reduced to Nisharim, were just remaining. As Nisharim, here's the game plan. Achrayus, Tfilas Arvis, take a step, don't give up, believe in yourself. We will leave here tonight and we'll share this idea with two others on behalf of 10K. Bata Yisrael, please, Ribayna Shalayim, I want to get more involved in Shidduchim. I'm going to try. But if we would gather together next year, having made thousands of Shidduchim with Reb Shaya and Reb Joel's permission, we'll rename it 20K Bata Yisrael. Could you imagine a Klal Yisrael that's called Sassan, called Simcha, called Chassan, called Kala? We should be zeicha to the bracha. The Maral brings down that the reason you're alive is to be mar bekvoid shemayim berabim, period. Which is why when a person dies, those who are left behind say Kaddish. Yiskadal v'yiskada shemei rabba. So by saying those words, for those who no longer can, they'll continue the ribui kvoid shemayim. At that Levaya a year ago, when 10K was created, 10K Bata Yisrael, by both mishpachas, by Reb Shaya, by Reb Joel, these two families taught Klal Yisrael, Yiskadal v'yiskada shemei rabba. And tonight, we will continue. We will continue to bring about a ribui kvod shemayim. We will continue to do what we can for the neshama of Yisrael and Elisheva Basya. These two families, the Kaplan and Levin families, taught Klal Yisrael, Yiskadal v'yiskada shemei rabba. We as Nesharim, what about us? We should be Zoicha to keep going, reading Shidduchim, keep going, making the call, take that step. And in that schus, as I said when I ended the Shloshim, with Chias HaMesim, we'll be reunited with that Chosin and Kala, who will, as my Rav told me, be standing under a chuppah, and we will participate b'karoid in their chasana, b'mheira and b'yameinu.
I suppose that fellow should have asked to marry a wealthy girl from Toronto. In any event, please direct your attention to the video screens for a short video about 10K Bata Yisrael. 10K Bata Yisrael was launched at the joint levaya of Elisheva and Yisrael. It was erev the second days of Pesach. My mechutin Reb Shaya Levin, in speaking with such gevura and amuna, said the following at the levaya. I'm quoting almost word for word. He said, "We're holding now on Pesach, Everybody knows Pesach night, we have the matzah and all the kinderlach. They chop the matzah away from the tati. The kinderlach hide the matzah, they keep it by themselves. And then when the tati gets up to Shulchan Aruch and he says to the kinderlach, he says to his child, my teure kinder, give me back my afikomen. I need my afikomen now. I need my matzah back. Matzah is pure and pristine, no chametz, no yetzer hara. Pure and pristine matzah. The child, as everybody knows, says, okay, Tati, I will give back the matzah, but I want a present. And Tati will give the present. But there is one condition. The Tati asks the child, did you keep that matzah in the matzah tash? Did you keep the matzah pristine? Did it fall on the floor? Did it get schmutzig? Did it chas v'shalom get chametzdik while you had that pikadon? Did the yetzer hara take that matzah and get to work on it and ruin it? The child says, no, Tati. Same matzah, pure, pristine matzah that you gave me. I watched that pikadon. I watched it well. Nothing bad happened to it. I'm returning it to you the same way that you gave it to me. 21 and a half years ago, Shaya said, we got a matzah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 20 years ago, he said, Joel and Leah got a pure, pristine matzah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we all watched our matzahs very carefully. We gave them the best chinuch. We did our best to inculcate them with Torah-dik values. Have the right friends, the right chevra, go to the right yeshivas, be davik with chaver and be davik with the moras and teachers and Rosh Yeshiva. So it's time. I say to Hashem, I want my afikomen. And Joel wants his afikomen too. We did what we are supposed to do. You reached out your hand, Hashem. You, Hashem, said, I want my matzahs back. My pure matzahs. So Shaya said, I will give you the matzahs back, but I want three things, said Shaya. I'll just repeat the first bakosha that Shaya made, and that's why we're here tonight. First thing I want is 10,000 shidduchim. I want 10,000 shidduchim in Klal Yisrael. I want not 5,000 for the boys and 5,000 for the girls. I want 10,000 for the boys and 10,000 for the girls. That's what I want for my first afikomen present. Too many Yiddish kinder, boys and girls, waiting for the shidduchim and platzing, waiting for the Yeshua, and I know because I lived through the Pasha. Too many. Ribbon Shalom, I am asking 10,000 for the boys and 10,000 for the girls. I am asking. Moriva Barbose, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome the driving force behind 10K Batei Yisrael, my Mechut and Reb Shaya Levin, to close the program.
Wow. We really filled up Chinka, didn't we? I'd like to start by saying that everything I'm going to say now is Lili Nishmas B'nai Ahuvi Aaron Ben Yeshayahu Halevi, B'nai Ahuvi Yisrael Ben Yeshayahu Halevi, Lili Nishmas Kalosi Elisheva Basi Bas Yechiel Ephraim, Yeshav Lichtige Gan Eden, and the Neshama shall rise to the highest places in Gan Eden, close to the Shechina Kadosha. First, I'd like to start thanking those who deserve thanks. And the emissaries, it's a very long list and would really take a very long time, but I'm meracham on myself and I'm meracham on you, so I'm going to really try to keep it as short as possible. I'd like to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who constantly does chesed to me all the time. I'd like to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving me my best friend in the world, my soulmate, who sticks with me through thick and thin. And in the last 3 years, unfortunately, there was a lot of thin. But she is the glue that holds us all together. Let's give a big hand to my wife, Liba. It's a rare opportunity you get to do this. Okay, I'd like to thank Dina Feiner and the entire Mishpacha magazine, Eli Paley, the publisher, Avi Lazar, the CEO of Mishpacha, Reb Shia Herschel Kirsch from Bezdin Tzedek Tishboit for penning the beautiful Tefillah of Shadchanim, Bracha from Fusion, you can give hands as I'm saying this, Bracha from Fusion Interactive for tireless work designing the handouts, flyers, banners, etc. for this event, Shani Katz from SK Digital for designing banners and so many ads previously, Rivki Grossman for marketing advice and constant involvement, Avital Levine for putting together that incredible video we just saw, Rachel Weinstein of Email Marketing Consulting, the team running the Instagram account who want to remain anonymous, E.C. Birnbaum, formerly of Klal Gavoya, Miss Rachel Hertzberg, design, Miss Sarah Elbogen, design, Mrs. Razy Barron, design, Larry Gordon, the Five Towns Jewish Times, iCatch Media. You know what iCatch Media is? If you go on Kings Highway and Coney Island Avenue, you see by the bus stop they have these digital displays. They were carrying our 10K B'nai Yisrael this year. I want to give a very special thanks to Yeshiva World News, to two very special dear Chaverim who are always there to give us chizuk and make it possible what I do, Morty and Josh Melman. Jack Siegel, my attorney, who helped us become a 501c nonprofit, and Heshi Kass from Roth Associates, CPA. May his daughter have a tremendous refuah shalema. Fradl Sora Bashendel. Hashem help her out. Make her happy. Make us all happy. And now, I'd like to thank two special people who made 10K. And it's a hard job to do because I can't say their names in public. Do you think Shia Levin made that 10K website? I don't begin to know how to do that type of stuff. The real story was that when I was sitting Shiva, a young lady came to the house who's a family friend who actually made my daughter Shidduch. She's sitting here. And she informed us that she's going to make a website that's going to attract the 10,000 Shidduchim. And I said, wow, as soon as Shiva's over, I'm going to try to do everything I possibly can to make this site be matzliach because you're doing it for my children, Yisrael and Elisha. So after Shiva, I got involved. And it's just phenomenal. If you go on the site, there's a tab there called About Us. And you click on there, and it says SD. And she tells her story, how she started the site. Very shortly after she started the site, she grabbed in AK. And between the two of them, they are changing the world. They are literally changing the world. They have this ability to chaperein their friends who are so talented, I just listed some of them, and to get them on board. Everybody is doing this voluntarily. No one's taking a penny, not a penny. This is while holding down full-time jobs. It's murder. If people look from the outside, they say, wow, they must have this big operation there. No, it's hafla what we're doing with just 3 people. It's really 2 people. I'm just the front man. On January 20th, 2017, I, like tens of millions of people around the globe, was listening very attentively to the inauguration speech of our president, Donald J. Trump. And he said two sentences there that caught my attention, and those sentences stayed seared in my memory. And when 15 months later, 10K started, those two sentences, those historic words, which would lay out the course of his administration and his agenda, those words came back to me. What he said was, the forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. And I thought to myself, who are the forgotten men and women in Klal Yisrael, if not our beloved singles, and in particular, our older singles? So I want to tweak it a little bit. The forgotten men and women of our community, our Jewish community, will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. The idea of 10K B'nai Yisrael is to change the mindsets of everyone as it impacts on Shidduchim. I like to see things in a simple fashion. Everyone has different spins on the Shidduchim situation. Let me ask you something. 30 years ago, how many shadchanim were there in Klal Yisrael servicing the needs of Klal Yisrael? X amount for X amount of singles that was constantly starting to date. It's 30 years longer. Have there been any substantial increase in the amount of shadchanim to service the tremendous amount of singles that are starting to date every month? Absolutely not. It's a very positive problem here. The shadchanim are overwhelmed. It's impossible to keep up. Everyone's calling, trying to get the attention of that smattering shadchanim from my daughter. Just get it. They can't get back to you. It's not shaykh u'metzias. There's not enough of them. I always say, Klal Yisrael has a tremendous natural resource. You know what the natural resource is? Klal Yisrael. We are our own best natural resource. As we've been hearing the whole night from the video, we have to each roll up our sleeves, open our hearts, and start thinking of shidduchim for everybody. Now you're going to say, a year ago I would have said, it was a nice idea I came up with, but does it really work? Is it really shaykh? So we had a very interesting experiment this past year. We tried out this idea. And guess what? It works. It mamish works. And the only thing that's holding us back from exploding is publicity. The concept has to get out there to the world that we are Klal Yisrael. We help each other out. We think of each other. When my children were born in this world, they were born into a world where there's Hatzalah. I'm giving a plug to Hatzalah who's having their thing over there. It doesn't bother me. I Baruch Hashem have a full room, so I'm very generous. And even if I didn't have a full room, I'd still plug them because they do phenomenal work. So my children were born in a world with Hatzalah. What's Hatzalah? You ask a child. How do Yidden deal with the medical emergencies in their community? What do they look at you credulous? What do you mean? We have our own Yidden, or volunteers, B'leiv Tov, who give of their time, their efforts. They come and they help us out. We're Yidden. We do this for each other. I remember what it was like before there was Hatzalah. Before there was Hatzalah, Rachmana litzlan, someone had a serious problem and they had to wait for the ever so slow 9/11 to come. It was gefährlich. Yiddish lives were lost because the ambulance never came in time. I foresee a time when you'll turn to a little Yiddish boy or girl and say, how do you make shidduchim in Klal Yisrael? They'll look at you incredulous and they'll say, well, what do you mean? We all make shidduchim. We all think of shidduchim for each other. We're not trying to push the shadchanim out. We're trying to complement them. We're trying to supplement them. We're trying to take that burden off of their shoulders because they can't keep up with the workload. We are all going to become mini shadchanim. And that's how we're going to change the future of Klal Yisrael. What's unique about 10K Bat Yisrael is we're a joint venture. You know what a joint venture means? A joint venture is when two parties get together, each one comes to the table bringing a certain koyach of what they could do. 10K Bat Yisrael is a joint venture between us down here in the Olam Asiyah, who can do, and Yisrael and Elisheva, who are upstairs by the Kisei HaKavod. Yisrael on the right side of the Bnei Shalom, and Elisheva on the left side. And up there, Yisrael and Elisheva are tremendous shlichim for all of us. Because they left the world als chosna kala at the spitz simcha, the most happiest time of their lives. And to be a good shliach, you have to be besimcha. They went up besimcha. They are there by Kav Yachal, and they're asking the Rebbeinu Shalom all the time, please, Tati, open up the Shari Simcha and send down Shidduchim to Klal Yisrael. And it's up to us down here to empower them by us getting involved and reading Shidduchim. And when the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to see that his children, Klal Yisrael, are caring for each other and thinking of each other and doing for each other, he will be more than happy to open up the Shai Simcha and throw down the Shidduchim. This year alone, again, I jump a little, forgive my manner of speaking, but I get very excited. You look at the stories on 10K Bat Yisrael, click on the tab, read the stories by those who made Shidduchim. You heard some over here on the video. Read the feedback of what people have to say. How many older singles became chosna and kalas this year? It never happened before. We never heard of it before. But it happened this year. Because there are people who are showing a gefühl for Klal Yisrael and getting involved, going out of their comfort zone and doing. And it's just tremendous. And it brings about no effort, and Shidduchim goes to waste. Our job is not to connect the dots to the final Shidduch that we in particular work on right now. We know in Yiddishkeit, every effort is observed by Kav Yachal, and if it doesn't end up helping a Shidduch over here, it helps some 50-year-old get engaged over there. And we're seeing this with our own eyes. I had no doubt when we called this Maimed, this event, that people are going to walk out of here tonight tremendously enthused, inspired, energized, and rearing to go, I want to make a shidduch. If they're listening to the Choshev Rabbanim, I wanted to pull myself off the dais and get to work. It's astounding, the electricity in this room tonight. But my goal is not to get you all excited and enthusiastic, and a week later you're saying, yeah, it was a real inspiring event, and now what? I'm a bottom line oriented person. I want results. From everyone who's attending here tonight, from the tens of thousands who are listening, who are hearing this, you should know a fact of life. A certain percentage of people are naturals. They're going to walk out of here tonight and they're going to jump in the pool and then they're going to successfully make shidduchim. But let's be real, the Hamoin Am says, how do I do it? What do I do now? Help me. 10K is here to help you. Very interesting. Last spring, I'll give you 2 practical ways how we're going to help you. Last spring, I was reading the stories on 10K, the feedback, and some lady wrote in a tremendous thing that caught my attention, got me very excited, and I sent out an email right away to my children, and I said, listen what she's saying. I'm a yeshivish guy, so I'll talk to you in yeshivish jargon. She said, when it comes to making shidduchim, I got myself a shidduch partner. In yeshivish sprach, we call that a chavrusa. I said, that's tremendous, that's so smart. She said herself, as an individual, if I go out, I'm going to cool off very soon. I'll try, I'll knock my head against the wall. I'm ad-libbing a little, you know what I mean? Human nature, you'll try, and you get sidetracked, and then a month later, you're not into it anymore. But if you get yourself a chavrusa, you bounce off each other, you feed off each other, you energize each other, you talk together, you think of ideas, you match notes, you work together. Step Aleph. So you have a chavrusa now. Your chavrusa and you look at each other and say, how do I read this Gemara? What do we do? So a chavrusa says, what do we do? The Shidduch Mentor Initiative Program. I reached out to professional shadchanim, seasoned veterans, people who've been around the block, who successfully made quite a few shidduchim, and I asked them, could you do me a taiva? I'm trying to excite a world of people out there to get involved in shidduchim. They need help to get up on their feet, to start flying. Maybe you could give them, if they I'm not going to publicize your names because I don't want it to make you nuts for nothing, but you'll be on my roster when people from the public will reach out to 10K and say, could you introduce me to a veteran shadchan so they could give me a little a walkthrough before we even start, so I should know what to expect. I'll give you a mashal. If I was going now to Chinka to take a job as manager of the catering hall, right? And I heard about the catering hall, I know a little about it, but I'm not familiar with this particular environment. And someone would come over to me and say, listen, Herzl Chaim, it's a great place to work, but I got to tip you off. Sometimes, Mr. Liebelby, forgive me, you know, he has a lot of stress on his shoulders, he's running a lot of events, and sometimes he can come and he can get a little irate at you. And you'll feel very sensitive, you'll feel very hurt. Don't worry about it, it's nothing. He'll come back in 10 minutes from now, he's cooled down. And if you really work good for him, you'll even get a raise at the end. What a valuable piece of information. Someone tipped me off what to expect, what the pitfalls could be, what kind of attitude I should have in dealing with it. If I would come in the first day to work and the guy would shout at me and say, I'm not, I come home and tell my wife, I don't have to be subjected to that, I'm quitting this job. But because someone told me beforehand what to expect, the upsides, the downsides, it's a world of difference. Now I go in there, I have confidence, I can do it, I'm gonna fly. Same thing over here. These seasoned veterans, they will work with you, they will give you a little introduction to what it's all about. They'll tell you the success stories and the nachas ruach and the kurs ruach that they have from making a shidduch. There's nothing like it. You start off, you and your partner, you get a shidduch going. You're now by the second date. What do we do now? How do I follow up with the parents? There's a chachma what you say, there's a chachma what you don't say. The girl's parents came back and said such and such a thing. Should you really go back and tell the other side that? Will that help the shidduch? Will that hurt the shidduch? It's an umnus like anything else. You have to know how to do it. We are here to help you do it. Reach out to us. Get yourself a shidduch partner. We'll provide the mentor. We'll be there with you all the way till Be'ez Hashem you get to the point where you will fly solo and you will become a mentor for others to do to others like was done for you. So we could all help the singles in Klal Yisrael. What are my future plans for 10K? One thing I feel very strongly is in the summertime, for those of you who are following 10K, there were shidduch meetings in the mountains, in the summer homes, and the bungalow colonies, and we saw a lot of hatzlacha from that. We want very much that that should continue year-round. When we come back from the mountains, it should be year-round, but much more than that. We want to become the bulletin board for all the shidduch meetings everywhere. People could post. If you're in Cincinnati, you can post on 10K. every Thursday evening there's a shidduch meeting in so-and-so's house at this time. So if anyone in Cincinnati wants to know where to go for shidduch meeting, click on 10K. We'll have a tab. We'll tell you where to go. In Brooklyn, it's by the Levin's house, every third Thursday night from 7:30 to 10:30, 1410 Avenue R. We could really build something tremendous if people will start getting. My wife is chalishing now that I just volunteered at a house, but that it was only a marshal. But that's the idea. Let's get a lot of shidduch meetings. There are already in Klal Yisrael a lot of shidduch meetings. Come to 10K, post it on 10K, so everyone will know where in my neighborhood is the closest place where I could attend a shidduch meeting. I want to get involved. I don't want to be accused of false advertising. It said on the poster over there that I'm going to talk about some personal reflections. And I want to end with one major concept and tie that into my personal reflections. There's one thing that everybody who is listening to me now can do to help bring about shidduchim. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, what your natural affinity for making shidduchim is nothing to do with that. The one thing that we can all do to help bring about shidduchim, and this was touched upon before, but I want to emphasize it, we can daven straight to Hashem and ask for His help. When I finish Shemona Esrei by Elokai Nesar, I say, please, Tati, send shidduchim to Klal Yisrael. We can all do that. Whether you say Tehillim, whether you daven Shemona Esrei, we can all do that. I do it 3 times a day, never ending. Hashem is waiting to hear us say those words. He wants to do for us. We got to do that. You got to be mispalel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that He should hear our tefillos and respond to our tefillos. It was a very interesting thing. I've said this many times before, but this is part of my children's legacy. When when Ari was niftar, and I was in Eretz Yisrael, Beit Shemesh, after Kvura, we had a few hours to spend, so we sat Shiva by my brother's apartment, Shmuel Navi, and I went to daven for the Amid, and I davened Ma'ariv. For some strange reason, I davened slow, like a mensch, but for some strange reason, it came over me that daven aleinu slow, the last tefillah, daven aleinu, it's Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, say it slow. And I davened slow. And when I sat down, I finished davening, I turned to my nephews and I asked them, let me ask you something. Typically, if you wanted to daven aleinu with kavanah, the right way you're supposed to do it, and you're in shul, by the time you finish the first paragraph and you got to Al Kein Kavlacha, isn't the chazan going, he's rattling it off, he's finished already. So I started to laugh, yeah. I said, it's sad because aleinu is a tremendous, tremendous tefillah of being Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'haraya and the Yom Naram, it plays such a prominent role in our Shemona Esreis, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'anachnu koirim v'shtachavim v'moidem v'nei melech malchei hamlochem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Al Kein Kavlacha we say, v'nemar v'hoi, ki ha-malcha shelcha hi, v'nemar v'hoi Hashem lemelech ha-kol ha'aretz. A tremendous tefillah. If you look in the Yitzchak Yar Sidurim, you'll see written in small print above it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gathers the Pamalya Shamayla when we're saying Aleinu, and He says, listen to how my children are being Meshabeach me. The Rebbeinu Shalom gets a tremendous amount of Nachas Ruach when we are Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu the right way. What was interesting was, at that time, when this Hisayrus came into me about Aleinu, Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I wasn't aware of something. During the week, I came back, I flew back to New York, I'm sitting Shiva, and all Ari's friends are coming in, and we're beginning to see text on their phones, and we're beginning to hear stories that Ari was a tremendous Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. During the day, he used to send out messages to his friends, giving them chizuk, Duri, I hope you're having an easy day, you should be matzliach. And he would always sign off, Hashem is king. I never knew that about him. But his friends told me, yeah, Ari always, Hashem is king. I said, the Rebbeinu Shalom put in my heart, hours after his kfura, to have this gefil for Aleinu, to be Malach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I said, that's going to be Ari's legacy. That's what I'm going to spread to the world, to bring schusim to Ari, that everyone should be Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Aleinu at a minimum. With Yisrael, the boys started to come in during the week of Shiva, and they began to tell my wife and I and the family unbelievable stories of how Yisrael davened. The tremendous kavanah he had, you could see it written on his face as he davened. We have a picture of him when he was in Yerushalayim. Someone snapped a picture of him davening. You can mamish see written all over him, over his face, I am davening to Kadosh Baruch Hu. I am communicating with Kadosh Baruch Hu now. And the minute I began to hear those stories, I began to feel a tremendous desire in my neshama. I got to start davening better. I was zoiche that I had a son who davened like that. I got to start emulating my son. You know, typically in life, I always say, the parent predeceases the child, his children. And if the parent had any madregas and any milas, the good children would try to emulate the parents and do things that the parents did to emulate the parents and to bring schusim to parents. By me, unfortunately, it worked out the other way, that my children predeceased me. But it was ma'or me to emulate the gvaldic things they were doing. So I began, everybody, I assume, saw the famous letter that Ari wrote to his camper. It was printed up in Yeshiva World. If you Google it, you can find it on the Yeshiva World, other places. Yisrael wrote to his camper. He wrote a phenomenal letter. It's kedai to look it up. People looked at it, they said, it looks like something that was written by a mashgiach who was 60 years old. He was holding on a tremendous mature level, and he wrote a beautiful, I call that his real written legacy, his Yerusha to Klal Yisrael, about davening, how choshev davening is. And in it he wrote that he gave us this present to this boy, an art scroll interlinear siddur. And he told the boy how much he grew from using the siddur. So I told Liba, that's it. I'm going to start using the art scroll interlinear siddur. Not that I don't know the taich words, but I find that it helps me focus. Don't go tefillas haderech while you're davening, your mind starts flying. If you're looking at it, you focus in and you read it, it keeps you focused, and then your davening is much better davening. When it comes to shidduchim, while you're working on the shidduchim, the Rav said that before also, be mispal to Rebbeinu Shalom. Please, Rebbeinu Shalom, send me hatzlacha that the shidduchim I'm working on should be matzliach. And even if it's not your shidduch, like I said before, please, Rebbeinu Shalom, send shidduchim to Klal Yisrael. I know when I stop talking, I'm going to remember 50 other things I wanted to say, but that's, I guess, the drawback of not writing everything down. I just wanted to say, Mi ka'amcha Yisrael. Who is like you, Klal Yisrael? This is such a chizik to us that you all came out tonight to show support and to be here. It empowers us to do so much more for all of Klal Yisrael. 10,000 shidduchim, hundreds of thousands of shidduchim, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. The ikazach is that people should spread the message. Today, the power of social media is phenomenal. Josh Melman called me up Thursday night. What a sweet friend. He said, Shaya, send me the flyer. I'm going to send it out on my Flatbush Jewish Community Council email list. I said, how much is that? He says, 20,000. It's astounding. And it goes around the world. So we have to spread the word as much as possible, so that more and more people should hear about this very simple idea, the simple idea of Klal Yisrael helping each other. I want to give a bracha to everybody who came out here tonight, to everybody who's listening, that Rabbeinu Shalom should hear all our tefillas, give us everything that we need, and we should all have bracha v'atzlacha. Thank you so much. We'll have a miyah for Ma'ariv on the men's side.